To everything, there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven. Ecclesiastes 3, verse 1.
If you suffer from undecorating-itis.
It's horrible. Yeah. In the dream, I saw her features, and I happened to look at him, and I said, she's pregnant now. There's no way she's not pregnant.
Hey everyone, welcome to another video. It's January the 16th, 2025. I'm not too proud of myself. Okay, so I know I can't be an anomaly because I just know, like, there has to be other people that have this problem that I seem to have. Bear with me because guess what? I'm not perfect. So I need to ask the question, is anybody else guilty, like I am, of leaving your Christmas decorations up months and months after Christmas? Please help me out. Help me to not feel as bad. I'm making up a new word today. Let me know if you suffer from undecorating-itis after Christmas. This has to be like a real thing because as I've been driving through neighborhoods, I'm still seeing some of you guys with your Christmas decorations still up. And it is now the 16th of January. It is time to take it down. Unless you really are obsessed with Christmas and you just like to keep it that way. But it's time. We're about to go into spring and it is now the time. Let this video be your motivation and your inspiration and your cue to take it down.
Clearly, as you can see, we don't do tradition in these parts. I'm literally throwing away a dead tree. Let's work with the facts. Most people take down their Christmas decorations January 5th or 6th, kind of aligning with the 12th, 9th, if I can't speak, Epiphany. So that marks the end of the Christmas season. However, people do what they want to do. And as you can see, people like me keep their decor up well into January, and some people even into February. We aren't going to go full blown yet, but the spring decor has to come. So we are going to undecorate and do a little refresh today. Okay, so we're starting off fresh. New perspective, new attitude, new motivation. Oh my gosh, I need speech therapy. New speech! We're working with new speech. Okay, we're not going to correct ourselves because I could just edit that out of the video. But we want to be real as we can be. So we're not going to do too much editing on the speech today because it's just not what's really happening right now. So we're airing all of our dirty laundry and showing you that you don't have to be perfect, but you should always strive for a new perspective, new outlook, new motivation. Yeah, so sometimes I think not being able to undecorate could be just a time thing, which could be a little bit of my problem. It could also be that the holiday decorations are tied to nostalgia and joy, just having that feeling of, positive emotions and a sense of community, kind of keeping or hanging on to the decorations longer. It's probably like a way to prolong your feelings and offering comfort of some sort. But honestly, it drives me crazy after Christmas to keep my decorations up. If you are someone that is absolutely obsessed with the season, try looking at it like this. It's a fresh start. It's also an opportunity to just make your space feel brand new. it doesn't always have to be bittersweet. It can also be a time to refresh and reset your space and your mind. Even though it is January 30th and I have already taken my stuff down, if you guys still have your things up, it's time to move on. Today is your cue, your sign, your heavenly sign to take it down. Okay, it's time for the counseling session. So what if I told you that the things that you've actually been avoiding are actually the doorway to your next level? So growth is not just about adding more, it's about removing what no longer fits. And in this case, we're talking about the holiday decor. So just like a tree sheds its leaves, sometimes you have to release in order to rise up. Why is it that we are so resistant to change? I was thinking about this the other day and I was like, okay, so it's either A or B. And then if you pick A, you're toast. And if you pick B, you're still toast, because any way you look at it, there's no change that is absolutely perfect. So we just need to trust that the words and the things that we hear from above are accurate and real.
But I hit my will. I had to surrender, but I got tossed into it. It just started off with life.
What do you mean?
Because it gets you to put a person, put an event over God. Anything that comes before God, anything that's you set as a head or an authority in your life is an idol. And so that's what happens is I was trained to be an idol worshiper. I was brought up to be an idol worshiper. They call it culture, but realistically speaking, you're literally trained to be that. You're trained to be an idol worshiper. And so I was trained in this area to be an idol worshiper, and then now I had all this trauma. When you brought those two together, it set the stage for Jezebel. It set the stage for a whole lot of stuff. So the enemy knows how to raise up people. I always tell people that trauma is the devil's training.
Trauma is the devil's training ground.
Training ground. You're in boot camp. When you're being traumatized repeatedly, you're being trained. You're being taught. It's the vampiric effect, what I call it. You will essentially become what hurts you if you don't heal. And so it's basically you being trained by a demon. And that demon keeps hurting you. It keeps hurting you. It keeps traumatizing you. Till you get to the space where you say, in order for me not to be traumatized, I got to be like the monster that hurt me. I was brought up in that mindset. And the next thing you know, I'm loosed into the world. And I'm loosed into the world. This traumatized idol worshiper who's been hurt. And you hear that thing of hurt people. That's true. Anytime you see any person or any event where there has been a mass slaughter of God's people or an attempt to slay God's people, that's Jezebel. And I was married to in a dream. The room looked different. It was like panel walls everywhere. It was a bed, and it's horrible.
Yeah.
In a dream, I saw her features, and I happened to look at him, my uncle, and I said, she's pregnant now. There's no way she's not pregnant. And then I woke up. When I woke up from that dream, it wasn't a few minutes later, I heard him pulling into the driveway. And I said, honestly, it's very clear to me you really don't want to be married. You're not ready for that. And I said, I forgive you for that. And I said, I'm going to go ahead and file for divorce. And I said, because I need you to live your life, and I need you. And I'm still lying down on the couch, mind you. We had a sectional. He was sitting at the other end of the sectional. So he's just sitting there. He's not saying a thing. And finally, I told him the dream. I knew there was a mistress, and I thought she was a dark-skinned woman. But I told him the woman in the dream, I said she's light-skinned, she got sandy colored hair, it looks like it's natural, it's pulled in a ponytail. There were glasses on the nightstand. And I always tell people I saw the Bible come to life because this man slid off the couch like a snake.
I know I'm calling this all motivation. Most people wait for motivation, but motivation is actually an emotion, and it is not reliable. So you don't need motivation. You actually need to get up and move.
Why should I be worried about demons? I'm a believer. I'm saved. The blood still works.
That's right.
Why should I worry about the enemy?
Because they're worried about you. They're worried about you. Deliverance is the children's bread. I've had people to say all the time, Christians can't have demons. Christians can't have demons because we got the Holy Spirit. And I tell them all the time, deliverance is the children's bread. That means the believer's bread. So why would God give bread to the believer? Why would he give deliverance to the believer if we couldn't have demons? Jesus was casting demons out of believers, right? These are the people that were following him, coming after him. Wherever the principality is strong at, that is where the principles you have, you're going to get drawn. It's a magnetic effect. You'll get pulled to that area. So the problem with most people is idolatry. Because everybody keeps dumping you, then next thing you know, you start going into adultery. Okay. Well, he did commit to somebody, so he'd be willing to commit. And so you keep going deeper and deeper and deeper into it.
Because when you move, momentum always is going to follow. And when momentum builds, okay, motivation is going to show up. This is something that I have had to learn even in my journey as a YouTuber. Like, I can't tell you the countless amount of times I'm like, Nadine, move! Stop saying you're gonna do it and actually move. Because I have this thing. One day I was sleeping and I woke up out of my sleep and it's just like God dropped it into my mind. He said, you can't have progress without motion. And when I woke up from that moment, I was like, it's so simple, but it is so defining. You need to get up and move to make things happen. I think sometimes we trick ourselves by saying things like time heals all wounds, but it really doesn't heal your wounds. It just reveals the things that need to be healed. And healing happens in the space between awareness and action. So what you ignore stays exactly the same, and what you face actually transforms. Let's look at it from this perspective. So think about a caterpillar. It doesn't just become a butterfly. Okay, so this is what has to happen. It has to dissolve, completely breaks down before the transformation. Did you get that? Did you catch it at all? So if things feel like they're falling apart, maybe you are not breaking. Maybe you're just becoming. The saying that you need to deconstruct before you reconstruct is really, really true. And if you keep on waiting for the perfect moment, this one drives me absolutely wild. I always hear people saying, well, we're waiting for the right time to get married. We're waiting for the right time to have a baby. But what if the real test is that you do what is imperfect? Okay, so this is when your breakthrough isn't in the right time, but it's in how you show up right now. I don't think that God expects for us to have it all figured out. He just says, trust him. And I know it's uncomfortable and there's a lot of patience and delays involved, a lot of detours. But these things are definitely not setbacks, they're set-ups. Believe me, maybe one day I will share my full entire testimony with you guys, but I have been through the ringer. So if anybody knows, for anybody that knows me out there, they know that if I am where I am today, that what I'm saying is absolutely true. Because what looks like waiting to you is working in his eyes, okay? So the person I'm talking about, of course, is God. So stop measuring your worth by what you finish. Measure it by what you're willing to start, because perfection it's a myth. It is a myth. There is nothing perfect. Even God said that he made us without perfection. He is the only perfection. But completion is the goal. Okay, so done messy is better than never done at all. And you don't need permission to change your life. You don't need a sign. Even though I did say that this is your sign, but you really don't need a sign, right? You don't need the right circumstances. You just need a decision to move in motion. The moment you decide that you're done waiting, and it's the moment, everything is going to shift in your life. Seasons change, but don't cling on to the old versions of yourself. So what you did last season, like last winter, doesn't have to be the same thing you do this winter. As a matter of fact, that would absolutely show that you are not growing. So again, don't cling on to old versions of yourself just because it's familiar to you and it gives you a place of comfort. You are not going to live if you stay in the same place at all times. You were not made to stay the same. You were made to evolve constantly and continually throughout your life. Whatever it is that's holding you back, fear, doubt, perfection, if God has placed something in your heart, He's going to equip you to complete it. So don't shrink yourself down because the process feels slow. Even seeds take time to grow. Honestly, undecorating isn't just about taking things down. It's about making space for what's new, what's next. It's a time to reset, as I said so many times through the video. And although Christmas is amazing and the holidays are great, we are excited for what is next to come. The space is feeling fresh and I'm feeling really good about this reset. Let me know, when do you usually take Christmas stuff down? And are you team take it down right after New Year's? Or team, I might leave it up until February? Let's chat in the comments sections and we will see you guys later. You guys stay safe. We love you. Bye.